The final cut is a masterpiece. But the first draft is a war zone. This is between the frames. The Sunken Place in Get Out is more than a scene. It's a cultural touchstone. It's a haunting metaphor for systemic erasure, a gut-wrenching visualization of powerlessness, and undeniably one of the most chilling moments in 21st century horror. But the version that terrified audiences and burned itself into our collective memory was not what director Jordan Peele first imagined. Not even close. Originally, The Sunken Place was conceived as a lavish, expensive CGI sequence. Think of a psychedelic descent into a surreal subconscious, something visually complex and spectacular. Then the budget was abruptly reduced. The money just wasn't there. Peele and his team faced a creative crisis that could have derailed the entire film. But that constraint, that sudden lack of resources, forced a revolution. By stripping everything back to its bare essentials, a single shot, a single falling tear, and a wall of muffled sound, they created something far more profound, far more terrifying: horror through absence. Let's rewind to early pre-production. Peele worked closely with storyboard artists to visualize the Sunken Place as an abstract, elaborate dreamscape. Early concepts show Chris falling through shifting geometric patterns, like a kaleidoscope of dread. Other ideas involved surreal landscapes that mixed his memories with his nightmares, a visual cacophony of his internal terror. There were even plans for visual echoes of the hypnosis spiral, the teacup and spoon, melting into a vast, digital void. The goal was to use expensive visual effects to externalize the internal horror of losing control, to show us the chaos in his mind. But then came the reality check. When the budget was finalized, the allocation for visual effects was significantly less than what these ambitious plans required. The production team had to make a tough call: cut the scene entirely or completely reinvent it from the ground up. This is where the genius of filmmaking under pressure shines through. The pivotal mechanism was a deliberate pivot from spectacle to intimacy. Instead of building a world around Chris, they decided to trap the audience inside his head. The visual solution came from cinematographer Toby Oliver. He suggested a single, tight close-up on Daniel Kaluuya's face. The camera would then pull back slowly, creating the illusion that he was falling away from us, sinking into an endless darkness. No CGI backgrounds, no surreal landscapes, no complex effects, just the raw terror etched on his face. Then came the sound. Sound designer Trevor Gates was tasked with creating the auditory experience of being paralyzed and silenced. He crafted the now iconic muffled, underwater effect by recording dialogue through layers of fabric and even using underwater microphones. He then slowed the recordings down, creating that thick, suffocating audio blanket that feels like you're screaming into a pillow. It's the sound of your voice being stolen from you. Of course, none of this would work without the performance. Daniel Kaluuya had to convey the entire horrifying experience through his expression alone. And he delivered. His eyes go wide with panic, a silent scream for help, before they slowly go blank as he sinks, surrendering to the paralysis. That single tear that rolls down his cheek, it was completely real, captured in one perfect, heartbreaking take. It's the last remnant of his humanity before he's consumed. Finally, the color grade seals the deal. As Chris falls, the image is slowly desaturated. The vibrant colors of the real world are drained away, leaving him in a cold, stark monochrome. It's a powerful visual metaphor for losing his voice, his identity, his color, his very self. The result was a scene that cost a tiny fraction of the original VFX quote, but carried exponentially more emotional and thematic weight. It proves that sometimes the most elegant solution is also the simplest. The Sunken Place didn't just work. It completely redefined horror aesthetics for a new generation. It's a masterclass in horror through negative space. By showing less, Peele forced the audience to imagine more. That empty void isn't just blackness on a screen. It becomes a canvas for our own deepest fears of being trapped, silenced, and helpless. The simplicity of the execution also amplified the metaphor. Erasure isn't a flashy, explosive event. It's quiet, it's isolating, and it's utterly suffocating. Peele made us feel that. This creative pivot had a ripple effect across the industry. With a tiny budget of just $4.5 million, Get Out proved that financial constraints could be a catalyst for incredible innovation. It inspired a whole new wave of psychologically driven, high-concept horror films that didn't need a $100 million budget to be effective. The term Sunken Place itself entered the cultural lexicon. It became powerful shorthand for marginalization, for the feeling of being voiceless in a world that refuses to hear you. That is the proof that a horror scene can transcend genre to become a vital piece of social commentary. And here lies the competitive blind spot that Peele so brilliantly exploited. Big-budget horror often defaults to CGI monsters, elaborate gore, and predictable jump scares. It tries to shock you with what it shows you. Peele understood that the most terrifying things are often unseen, felt rather than shown. The true horror is psychological, not just visual. So what's the ultimate lesson here? It's a principle that applies to any creative field. Constraint breeds creativity. The Sunken Place teaches us that sometimes the most groundbreaking decisions don't come from unlimited freedom, but from being backed into a corner and forced to find a new way out. For any creator watching, whether you're a filmmaker, a writer, or an artist, the lesson is to ask yourself, what's the sunken place in my project? Where can I strip away elements instead of adding more? Sometimes the most powerful statement is made not with what you show, but with what you choose to withhold. Now, I want to hear from you. What other film scene do you know of that was made stronger by a production limitation or a happy accident? Share your picks in the comments below. And if you love diving deep between the frames, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.